To this day, the Bedouin sheikh would practice a hospitality similar to what we see Abraham practicing in the desert. This encounter with mystery has been picked up by the Christian centuries. Rublev presented this scene in an icon in which there is strange eye contact between these three almost identical persons. The Father is origin and source. We will never fully understand the Blessed Trinity, at least on this side of eternity. But there seems to have been some kind of suggestion here, a theophany, something of the breaking through of mystery. What was this? Was it angelic? Something happened there. And this is referred to by St. Benedict when talking about the importance of receiving well those who come to us. Some have entertained angels unaware. Hospitality then is not something just for the desert, but for the desert of life in general. People are coming to us wanting to be refreshed in a parched situation. There is plenty to do, but we do not have contact. We are cogs in a great machine in the modern desert of life, and when a soul comes to us, we need to give them that warmth which will allow them to go away refreshed. They mattered at last to somebody. St. Paul picks up the pain. We are part of redemption when we offer up all our limbs, all our hidden sufferings, when we unite all to Christ and to his passion, notably at the altar itself. Our pain then is not just ours, it belongs to the mystical body. We must never waste our pain, and thereby we can in some way also carry on in this mysterious act of making up for what is yet lacking in the sufferings of Christ. He humbly asked permission to suffer in us. May I use you? Pain unoffered and unconsecrated is completely wasted. We should never waste one grain of pain, even the most invisible and unseen. There is hospitality in the Gospel, much commented by the centuries, and a beautiful scene. There is a link between the first reading and the Gospel in the Psalm. The actual first verse of the Psalm is omitted by the part that we have in the Missal because of the repetition, but it does actually speak about the tent, being worthy to live in the tent, and there's this kind of answer coming from the priest, and therefore to be used by pilgrims as they approach the tent, Jerusalem, that it is also demanded that there be moral correctness. Usury, that is, lending money at interest to their brethren, would be regarded as taking advantage of someone's suffering, and it was not allowed to the Jews. They were allowed to do it for non-Jews, hence they became bankers in Christian times as the centuries went on. But there was fairness asked for in the law of Moses, and therefore there is a link between moral uprightness and access to God. We need also that complete balance in our life. We can't, for instance, hurt a person badly and come glibly to the altar as though nothing had happened. The altar is the place of encounter, and God is God and has his rights, and do not come under our own terms. Let us look for a moment at this very beautiful Gospel it has been noted that there is a problem in the Greek itself, insofar as we have more than one transmission. Manuscripts are always fragile things, and we must remember that we're handling 2 millennia of transmission. And I have here, as well as the Missal itself, with the very modern translation, the more literal translation of the RSV, which, by the way, is the one that we need to refer to if we want something fairly close to the original Greek and Hebrew. One can go further into older translations still, but the RSV is in current English and faithful. And I have noticed that the Vatican also in documents tends to use this kind of translation rather than a more free one, because we need to hear the word of God and not someone's interpretation of it. So, what do we have here? This scene of the two sisters, and Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. That is already a program of life. I remember seeing in France, when enclosed there, the picture designed by a Carmelite nun of precisely a Carmelite at the feet of the Lord, rather in this posture, just looking up into his eyes, the Master's eyes, and just as it were huddled at his feet. A very beautiful scene for the contemplative soul. The Lord has the word, and he just asks for space. He just asks for total attention. It's not easy to give total attention when we're dispersed. And dispersion is precisely what is coming in this gospel. The word distracted here comes in, was distracted with much serving. That is a good translation of the Greek. It's when one is dragged in the ambit of something away. The word peri comes into it, and this is dispersivity. This is the leaking of internal energy. This is the going out of one center. And multiplicity of activity tendentially makes that happen. More than this simple regard and abdicating over the universe, letting things happen. But Martha was distracted with much serving. This much is the problem. And she went to him and said, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her to help me." But the Lord answered her, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things." Anxious and troubled is the way that it translates this. And the root of trouble and turmoil comes into the Greek. And this anxious is linked to the root of merimna, a worry. There is preoccupation, there is worry, anxiety. She is not free. And then this problematic verse, one thing is needful. This is where the Greek is not clear. We have this note, which is true from what one sees in the original Greek here, in the long footnotes at this point of variants that they have in the manuscripts. Other ancient authorities read, "Few things are needful, or only one." And there are one or two versions coming similar to that, but with variations. So we're not quite sure what came actually from the original scribe. So what we have to do is see what the meaning is, and it would seem that we have two levels of meaning. The immediate meaning would seem to be, given that the Lord is on the way to Jerusalem to suffer and knows it, he is coming for refreshment spiritually. And the immediate meaning could well be, you are preparing a lavish meal, and in fact, I only really wanted a simple snack, indicating that what he wanted was to be nourished by fellowship, by human attention. That was the true consolation he would have had at that point in his humanity. And then it was picked up by the commentators on a higher level still of one thing is necessary, in Latin unum necessarium. The one thing necessary, the unum necessarium, then became an expression in itself because of what the Lord added, has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her. And it was seen then as the emblem of the contemplative life, rather than the active life. The unum necessarium, one thing alone sought, which was already an initiation of what would happen even after the shedding of the body. There would be continuity between the contemplative life and the angelic life in heaven. So there is more to this gospel than meets the eye. It applies, however, to every soul. We don't have to do every possible thing during our short innings on this side of eternity. Even within the 24-hour period that we have today, I can make it simple or complex by doing many things on the computer which don't really have to be done or heard or taken in. I can gain virginity of mind and heart. I can gain emptiness in which Christ himself, without intermediary, can speak to my heart. I can spend the time that I might spend on the screen before the tabernacle and hear the Lord directly without someone interposed. Also, I don't have to spend all the time I possibly can in conversation. The conversation doesn't have to be long each time. I don't have to have the mobile phone on. I can choose when and where I use it. Briefly, I have a choice over the quality of my time. For dispersivity is the great malady of our day. We are too much solicited. It's the modern version of missing the point, missing the one thing necessary. Venite seorsum, come apart. Poor Clares of Perpetual Adoration near Verona. O angels, made of matter, not of earth or human clay defined, O flames of fire, lit by the ancient sun, whose gentle mirth beams in your virgin gaze. What calm desire, not made of man's embrace, here draws you on to fondling of a soul, where spirits walk alone, upon a land
wherein is done a work of which no tongue may ever talk. Come close to this gold vessel where the all meets in a soft Amen, and then return to this strange grill that hides the matters small that are the all of living. Let me burn a while neath this your smiling, for there are some looks that travel hither from afar.